For the Atlanta-based rapper Cashout is expected to begin. His real name is John Gibson. He was indicted in 2023 on several charges, including rape, sex trafficking, and luring women into prostitution. 4 others also charged in this case. They're accused of forming Pires Music Group LLC, but then using the company to recruit and entice women to engage in commercial sex activity.
A few years later.
That breaking news here live at 5. Atlanta rapper Cashout has just been found guilty of most charges against him.
Get out there! Get out there!
He and 2 others on trial accused of luring women into prostitution.
Atlanta News First Yasmin Alston is live at the Fulton County Courthouse where that verdict was just read aloud. And this came down in the last 30 minutes, Yasmina.
Yeah, that's right. And all 3 defendants were found guilty of violating the Georgia RICO Act, which is what prosecutors wanted to prove in this case, that the rapper Cashout, his mom, Linda Smith, and a 3rd co-defendant were operating a sex trafficking enterprise. The rapper, whose real name is John-Michael Gibson, his mom, Linda Smith, also known as Momma, Cashout, and Tyrone Taylor were all facing multiple charges, including trafficking of a person for sexual servitude, pimping, and rape. And of course, that RICO charge. The jury found the trio guilty on most of those charges they faced, but not guilty of some of them. In this weeks-long trial, prosecutors tried to prove the 3 of them were running a business and luring women into prostitution, and several of the alleged victims testified. Now, we do know the jury deliberated all day starting early this morning, and then they came back with a verdict about 30 minutes ago. And once that verdict was read, all 3 of the defendants were handcuffed and walked out of the courtroom. The judge also saying that there will be a sentencing hearing for all 3 on Monday morning.
Well, that day came and went. Mr. Cashout, his mama, and a 3rd guy thought they were going to somehow escape that RICO charge and go home. But the sentencing didn't go as planned for the trio.
And all these warm and fuzzy triggers played into the scam of his wealth and the role that he would play in these women's lives. Using his one-hit wonder status to... That's how they made their money. They didn't make it by music. They simply used the music platform to lure these women in. Please consider that my daughter was an honor student who graduated high school in 2012 with almost an associate's degree in biology, and she was attending college for dental in 2015 when he made his broken promises and forced her into prostitution. She made a point to get us as close as possible. My point is, within minutes of we getting our daughter, that Momma Cash and her another woman were in the side of our car, and we barely escaped. To say that children could just walk off, they couldn't. These people were everywhere. Please give all the victims their day by throwing the book at these folks. Remember the parents that traveled and drove from their home to his door to do a well check for their daughter. Remember how we put ourselves in danger to save our daughter. And finally, remember and resonate with the fact that even though we restored her body, we have been unsuccessful in saving and healing the person because of the trauma that these animals delivered. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Because had they been successful, had my family not tracked me down, had Officer Yamians and his degree of skill and experience witnessing victims of human trafficking not recognized my distress and rescued me, I would have been further victimized on a regular basis for God knows how long. In my vulnerable state, I simply wasn't strong enough to save myself or even found value in saving myself. These defendants not only saw this and preyed on this, they further violated, assaulted, and victimized me and attempted to profit off of this vulnerability as if my body was a wholesale product they sought to make revenue from.
And Your Honor, we state for the record, we spoke with Kiara Adams' attorney, Jacoby Hudson. He's given us permission to read the statement.
Thank you.
I'm writing this to respectfully provide insight into the profound impact that being coerced into sex work has had on my life and my family. I want you to know the severe emotional, psychological, physical, and social consequences that I have endured. Many days I want to give up, but I keep fighting. No one truly understands the pain that I have experienced and continue to struggle with in my life. I've been wearing an ankle monitor for over 2 years, which means I'm unable to take a simple bath, find clothes to cover it so people don't freak out nor judge me. Daily stress of making sure it's charged, adding weight to my leg, and has severely scarred my ankle. Being forced into sex work was not a choice, but a situation driven by bad consequences or just getting involved with the wrong guy. This experience has left me deep scars in every aspect of my life. The constant fear for my safety and that of my family is overwhelming. As faced with explicit threats of harm if I attempted to leave, the threats created a sense of terror that continues to haunt me and my family daily, making it difficult to feel secure even now.
For Frederica, the most loyal friend I've ever had. For the women and victims I learned about along the way, but most importantly, for myself. Dear John-Michael Hakeem Gibson, you don't deserve prison. Prison would be too good of a place for you. But since the death penalty is not an option, I pray that you never know peace, and that your soul will never return to this realm after it leaves. You are a disgrace and an abomination and true definition of a monster. I hope that the judge finds it in her heart to make sure that you will never know freedom as long as you live.
Good morning. I will be reading the statement on behalf of Talicia Dewberry. It states, good morning. Reliving the events surrounding this trafficking case has affected me both mentally and physically. Since the investigation and my testimony, I've struggled with severe nightmares and flashbacks that disturb my sleep and concentration. The memories of what I witnessed and endured continue to resurface unexpectedly, leaving me feeling anxious and emotionally overwhelmed. This trauma has begun to affect my relationship with my loved ones. Where I was once present and engaged, now I feel myself withdrawing, easily agitated, and unable to fully connect. My performance at work has also been compromised.
Here's this poor boy's mama, this money-grabbing woman that decided she wanted to be a big boss along with her son, so she allowed her son to do the unimaginable to her and another poor soul that had to endure that trauma.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Here come the crocodile tears.
I'd like to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Make sure you're speaking today.
I'm sorry. I'd like to say thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. Not a day ever since I turned myself in, I was always prayerful for the victims. And that's what I truly feel in my heart, because I love God so much, and I'm so full of joy. That Friday, when the verdict came in, I wasn't angry at all. Not at all. I almost thought something was wrong with me. So that Saturday, well, the night before, let me back up. I talked to God like I always do. And he said, I must give my testimony to the young ladies in New Beginnings. And I said, Father God, I don't want to put my business out there. That's my business. But Father God said, your business is my business, and my agenda is your agenda. He said for me, which I always do, I respect authority. And Sergeant Ball was on the shift in my pod. So I had to speak to her. I was kind of afraid to speak to her. But Father God reminded me, he said, I'm by your side, do not fear. She said, you cannot be disobedient to God. So if you give your testimony and it just saves one person, just one person, You've done what God asked you to do. So I gave my testimony to about 35 women in the New Beginnings pod with me. God was speaking through me. I give him all the praise and glory. It's not me at all. My attorney, she's been great. She's been great. And she asked me when she came Sunday to speak to me what I would like her to say. And she has done that. And I just say, give me an opportunity just to speak to the judge.
All right, whoa. Pause. Flag on the play here. Hold on. I got a question, y'all. What are you crying for? What is she crying for? You was doing all that dirt. You was spending money, balling out, going to clubs, and you was messing with these girls and putting them out there, putting yourself out there for him, and now you're sitting here crying? This is the day of your judgment, and you're sitting here crying because you're about to get sent away for God knows how long? You're crying? What about the victims? I hope them tears are for every single person that was affected by this.
The court heard and viewed evidence demonstrating the very worst of human behavior toward other human beings. The jury verdict in this case reflects that the state met its burden in proving beyond a reasonable doubt that the diabolical conduct of the defendants occurred. The sentencing to be meted out by this court will be responsive to that. Mr. John-Michael Hakeem Gibson, would you please stand? Okay. On count one, violation of the Georgia RICO Act, 20 years to serve in confinement to run consecutive with count 10. On count 10, rape, life in confinement. Count 12, aggravated sodomy, life in confinement to run concurrent with count 10. Count 22, trafficking a person for sexual servitude, 20 years to serve in confinement to run consecutive with count 1. Count 23, trafficking a person for sexual servitude, 20 years to serve in confinement to run consecutive with count 22. Count 45, possession of prohibited items by an inmate, 5 years to serve in confinement to run consecutive with count 25. Conditions of this sentence: no contact with any of the victims named in the indictment, to include Diamond Irvin or their families. You are to register as a sex offender. You are to stay away from 737 Alfred Road in Atlanta. You are to stay away from the Mezzo condominium, 2171.
I don't think he's going to ever get that chance again.
You are to stay away from the St. George's Commons address, and you are to stay away from the Fulton Industrial Boulevard corridor. All right, you may be seated. All right, Ms. Smith and counsel, please stand. As to count 1, violation of the Georgia RICO Act, 20 years to serve in confinement. Count 737, trafficking a person for sexual servitude, 10 years to serve in confinement, to run consecutive to count 1. You are to register as a sex offender. You are to stay away from 737 Alfred Road, the Mezzo at 2171 Peachtree Road, the address at the St. George's Commons, 9340, and the FIB, Fulton Industrial Boulevard corridor. You may be seated.
Well, another promising career is wasted due to greed, lust, power, and spite. I'm not sure what he was thinking, but you can't just go running around doing this thing and not expect for it to hit you back harder. I hope to God he never gets another peaceful night ever again.